Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the LMC Sports Pulse. Unfortunately, my usual co-host Rob McCall could not make it this week, but in his place, we've brought along some very special guests to talk about some special topics. So without further ado, I'm proud to welcome our first guest of the evening, Kyle Moyer, a junior defenseman on the Moyne Dolphins lacrosse team. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thanks, Matt. I'm excited to be here.
It's great having you on the show. I know you've been kind of wanting to get on here for a while, and it's great to have you.
Thank you.
Want to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so let's dive right in. So basically, we're going to talk about a little Moyne lacrosse. So we're going to start off here. How would you rate your season thus far? Top performers, 8 games in. What do you guys think of the team as a whole, your performances, everything? Just a holistic look at everything.
So far, 8-0. Very excited about that. Ranked first nationally. So at the end of the day, got to be excited about that. We've had a lot of success from a lot of different players. Mm-hmm. It seems like every game, it's somebody new that's stepping up, making big plays, scoring goals, getting stops, whatever it may be. We don't really have one or two specific players that are getting it done every game for us. We rely on a lot of different people, which is exciting.
So definitely, Lemoyne team has been a big thing for Lemoyne. I mean, you guys are such a great program, such a strong program for lacrosse. It's always a team effort, but I do want to point out a couple players on your team have really broken out in terms of the stat sheets. Kevin Kelly, 21 goals this year. Chris Button with 18. On the defensive side, Ben Rognoli with 42 saves. What can you say to their individual performances? Have they just really stepped it up? Like, how would you gauge how those guys are doing?
I think they're just being successful in what we're asking them to do. Mm-hmm. Kevin, Chris, offensively are finishers inside for us. So they're not guys that are creating their own shot. Guys are creating shots for them, and we're asking them to finish, and they're doing their job. For Ben, as a defensive unit, we're giving up shots that we'd like to give up that are easy saves for him. Mm-hmm. So when you do that as a team, I think it's easier for guys to maybe stand out on a stat sheet. But at the same time, you don't want to overlook that because it is a team game. It is a team effort at the end of the day. And I think that's what we're doing for the most part through this 8 games.
Yeah, so definitely team is the central aspect. No one on this team.
Inside bounce and in. Kevin Kelly on the pass from Mike Jenkins. And the Dolphins, 29 seconds into the game, take a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, it really has.
North Syracuse High School.
We've had some big games. We've played well in big games.
Transfer from OCC as Joe Karapi with the goal.
That have been close.
His first of the game, 16th of the season.
So it's exciting to see where we're at so far, and we're excited to see where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, coming off your national championship last year, first of all, congrats on that.
Thank you.
How has the pressure from such a championship affected the team this year, or has it affected it at all?
Early on, there was definitely a championship hangover, I would say, especially in the fall.
Right.
But now, as the season gets going, we're going every day with practices, games, lifting, whatever it may be. And we've had those close games that's really kind of given us a look that, okay, we're going to get everyone's best game.
Right.
There are no easy games for us. Some teams say that there are, but there really aren't. We have a target on our back, and we've accepted that. And we're really excited to show that even though we've lost guys, we've reloaded. And we're going to be making a run at the end of the season.
So there was no complacency for this team, none at all?
No, not really, no.
That's good. Now, you talked about close games, and a big story this season for your team has been that game against Dowling 2 weeks ago. Can you just talk about the Dowling game a little bit? Very close game, went into overtime in the Carrier Dome, a big stage, and a very good team. What did that game do for your team's confidence and your team's overall ability to battle adversity?
It reminds me of the team my freshman year. Mm-hmm. My freshman year, we didn't have a game like that early on in the season. So when it came time for NCAAs, when we actually had a close game, we didn't handle it properly. Now that we've actually had a game like this early on in the season against a team that's in our region, I think that's going to help us in the long run because we know how to come from behind. We know guys that are going to step up and play well in those situations. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, it's something that we needed.
Right.
For a fan standpoint, maybe not so much, but as a team, it's what we needed.
And then Could you guys, it really seemed like you guys parlayed that momentum into the Merrimack game this past Tuesday. You told me over the weekend this was a big game for you guys.
It was.
Everyone was really buckling down over the weekend to make sure that everyone was ready to go for this one. And you guys pulled off a 16-9 win. Do you guys think that all of these strong recent wins are a sign of momentum going down the stretch? You guys really have shaken off those jitters early in the season and are prepared to make that late run once again into the NE10s, into the tournament. Do you guys think that the momentum is palpable there?
The momentum is definitely there. It is there. But at the same time, we can't get complacent again. Mm-hmm. There's going to be stretches during the season where we're going to play well and we're going to maybe slack off a little bit, but we can't do that. We have to keep it going. Keep our foot on the gas pedal, as some would say, to keep pushing forward, because games like Merrimack, that's why kids come to Lemoyne and want to play here. Those are big games. Those are the exciting games that you get a lot of fans for. And to be able to handle them, I guess you can say, the way that we did yesterday, it was big for us. It was big for our confidence.
So would you say that keeping that momentum alive, but also staying humble, is kind of one of the big challenges going forward for the rest of the season? Forget about, there's going to be big games. You told me about Adelphi. They're number 2 in the nation right now. They're on the schedule going forward. Obviously a playoff push, because let's be honest, this team is going to be going to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Is that the big challenge going forward, is just staying humble and staying hungry?
I think it's more staying hungry than maybe humble. Because obviously it's one thing to be humble as a person, but as a team, a lot of different individual personalities, so it's kind of hard to do that. Mm-hmm. But I would say more hungry. Yeah. That's something that we have to do. Last year, we were very hungry in the sense that we had 2 losses in the middle of the season, which basically we had to win out in order to make it. So we knew what we had to do. But now that we don't have a loss yet, we need to stay hungry, because if we get complacent, 1 loss sets us back. Right. And we can't have that. We're getting to the point now in our season where we need to be playing our best lacrosse, and I think we're heading that right direction, especially with yesterday's win.
So now tell me about you a little bit. You as a player, you are coming off of a knee injury your sophomore year. How has this early season momentum been for you? I know you've been playing well on the defensive side. How does this help your confidence to see not only the team is doing well, but you're doing well and you came back strong? Can you just talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, I had a pretty serious knee injury, as you know, in the fall of 2013, which ended my campaign for that season. It was tough on me mentally, but I worked the hardest probably out of anybody or I have ever in my life to come back, because I want to prove people wrong. But at the same time, knowing that I'm contributing now and helping the team win, every game I know that I can do something. I can create an impact, and make plays, and I think that's really what I want to do at the end of the day. I don't need the individual accolades. I don't need the recognition per se. I just want to do whatever I can do to help our team win.
Yeah, absolutely. So my last question here, and this is some breaking news that just came out today in the national sports world. I know we talked about this a little bit off stage. Northwestern students today on the football squad lobbied to the National Labor Relations Board of Chicago to unionize. Basically what these players were looking for was compensation, the ability to represent themselves, and essentially to be considered employees of the college. And this was contained in Northwestern. They won that appeal. They won their lobbies. So as far as the city of Chicago is concerned, football players at Northwestern are going to be considered employees. So that opens them up to pay. That opens them up to being able to pursue sponsorships, everything. So all of these, Johnny Football getting sanctioned because he went to a car dealership and was offered a car, that could possibly go away. And this affects all college athletes. This is going back to the formation of the College Athletes Players Association. So as a Lemoyne student, as a student athlete, what do you make of this news? Do you think that a Lemoyne athlete such as yourself deserves to be compensated?
I think for athletes in general, it could be beneficial. Mm-hmm. Obviously, everybody comes from a different background, and there are ways, that we try to help our student athletes, whether it be money for grades, athletics, whatever the case may be. So I think this could be beneficial, but at the same time, I think it only will benefit some of the bigger top programs per
Right.
se. Big Division I football, big Division I basketball, because those are the guys that are in the spotlights all the time. They have that microscope on them, and those are the guys that are going to be going pro, that people want to see, that people want to endorse.
Right.
Companies such as Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. Those are the people that they want. So coming from a Division II standpoint, it's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, yes, maybe a little bit extra money would help, pay for books, something like that. But it really affects those bigger schools.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So now taking your student athlete cap off a little bit, and you become the sports fan, like someone like me, a sports writer. What do you make of this news in regards to big college football, big college basketball? Do you think that that's a little bit different in regards to? Do you think those guys deserve to be compensated on a almost professional level, because that's what could potentially be coming out of this?
I think if that's what we're pushing for, I think it needs to be done properly.
Right.
Because as you see now with players in the past that are retiring, like professional players that have passed their playing days, there's some of them are broke, plain and simple. There's an ESPN special on it.
Right. It's really sad. The average age of the NFL,
it really
or the
is.
average length of the NFL player now is like 3 years.
It really is. And so I think if you're going to give these kids money, I think it needs to be managed properly.
Right.
It needs to be under a microscope so tightly that they're spending it on proper things, essentials, not excess things that aren't needed for them.
Right.
So that way when they do get to the pros, they know how to handle their money.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've all been there. College students have a little excess money. Most of us are going to spend it.
Right.
And that's what they're going to do.
Exactly.
So I think it could be beneficial, but there are some consequences that could come from it.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Kyle, it's been great having you. We're going to shift gears a bit, though. And in this special edition of The Pulse, we're going to take a look at March Madness now. Last week's opening rounds of the college basketball's biggest tournament proved thrilling, with a multitude of games coming down to the final shot, underdog teams pulling off upsets, and generally excellent and exciting basketball being played throughout. With 16 teams remaining in the big dance, we're going to turn to the big board and bring on my team of bracket experts to cover the rest of the tournament.